Ever had that moment where you're trying to figure out why, despite all your efforts, you're not making financial progress? Turns out, it's not all about your income. In this video, we'll dive into some surprising factors that might be keeping you from building wealth. And guess what? Some of these reasons will definitely catch you off guard. Ready to shake things up with your finances and set off on a path to wealth? Stick around and watch. Starting with a big one, you're working for less than you deserve. If you think about it, are you truly okay with being underappreciated and underpaid? Or should you start exploring what you're really worth in the job market? It's worth considering because sticking with a job that doesn't pay you well might feel safe, but it's essentially like leaving money on the table every single day. It's hard to accept, but many people find themselves in jobs that don't pay them what they're worth. This situation can really take a toll on both their finances and their enthusiasm for work. It's common for companies to give just enough salary to keep employees from leaving. Think about how often people don't get a raise, or if they do, it's so small it barely covers inflation. This actually means earning less than before, even with more experience. When someone quits, companies often realize they need to offer more to attract new people. Yet there's this tendency for people to stick to what's familiar, even if it's not rewarding. Stepping out of this comfort zone, especially by switching jobs, could lead to a significant pay bump, sometimes 10 to 20% more than what small raises at the current job offer. So, if you're working hard but feeling underpaid, it's totally okay to look for better options, even with competitors. Ever thought about branching out into new professional fields and getting a grasp on what the market pays for a job like yours? It can be a bit intimidating to start fresh, but picture this. What if that move means pocketing an extra 30% in earnings? Imagine the possibilities with that additional income, maybe channeling it into some savvy investments. Why keep shortchanging yourself when there's a chance to earn what you're really worth? Another typical challenge is the tendency to spend beyond one's means. It's a familiar scenario. Securing a good job or receiving a pay raise often leads to considering various upgrades. However, it's important to pause and think about how swiftly the focus can shift from saving to embarking on a spending spree, especially before exploring what these major upgrades usually entail. Have you ever noticed how landing that first big job or getting a sweet promotion or bonus often leads to the temptation of splurging on two major upgrades? One of them is usually a car. It's super easy to get caught in the allure of leasing a flashy ride that might actually be out of your budget. And let's be real, that can seriously suck your wealth dry, trapping you in endless loan repayments. Wouldn't it be smarter to buy a car outright if you've got the cash? Or at least make sure your car payments don't munch away more than 15% of your annual income. For example, if you're making $60,000 a year, keeping your total car costs, think payments, insurance, maintenance, and all that jazz, below $9,000 a year is a pretty savvy move, don't you think? How tempting is it to upgrade to a bigger house when banks are offering loans up to 4 to 5 times your salary? Quite a lure, right? But here's the kicker. Stretching financially thin is a path best avoided. Did you know that a smart rule of thumb is keeping mortgage payments below 28% of your gross income? This approach allows for enjoying a new home without the stress of overextending financially. Remember, bigger isn't always better, particularly when it comes to maintaining financial peace of mind. Isn't it ironic how we work hard to earn more, only to end up spending more than we can actually afford? Now, let's tackle the idea of depending solely on a single source of income. Isn't it a bit like walking a tightrope without a safety net? In these times, particularly post-pandemic, the dangers of relying solely on one income source have become glaringly apparent. Many face job losses, and the trend of increasing layoffs is a reality that can't be ignored. Imagine being a step away from financial uncertainty just because your income is tied to one job. It's a typical pattern among the middle class to depend entirely on their day job for financial security. This approach, however, means placing all your financial hopes in one spot, your employer's hands. Isn't that quite the risk? To break free from this precarious situation, why not explore diversifying your income streams? Maybe it's time to consider a side hustle like driving for Uber or starting an online business. Or perhaps dipping into the stock market or real estate could be a smart move. Remember, surrendering total financial control to your day job isn't just risky, it's a route fraught with potential pitfalls. Isn't it better to have more than one financial safety net? Moving on to the topic, number 4. You can't master the balance between consumption and production. It's like a dance of money in and out of our lives. Think of it as a balance between what we earn, income, and what we spend, expenses. But there's a different way to view it, through the lens of production and consumption. The money that flows into our lives does so because we've created value, usually through our jobs or other forms of labor. On the other side, we spend money on things like our homes, cars, and yes, even our Netflix subscriptions. Essentially, we can gauge a person's financial health by looking at how their consumption stacks up against their production. Unfortunately, for many, this balance sheet is in the red. For instance, the average debt for an American stands at about $96,000. This means money is going out faster than it's coming in. It's crucial to understand how this affects our financial situation. The goal is to dial down on the spending while ramping up the income, focusing on those areas that bring money into our lives. Isn't it time to ask yourself, are you really working to live or just living to pay the bills? How easy it is to fall into the herd mentality trap, especially when it comes to spending. Why do we wait for New Year's to make resolutions when every day holds the potential for change, including how we manage our finances? It's like everyone is in a race to keep up with the Joneses, spending money left and right just to fit in. This pressure isn't limited to any specific income group. In fact, it's quite surprising to see that even people with hefty salaries, some earning in the six-figure range, can find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. It's as if the more you earn, the more you're expected to spend. But why do we let society dictate how we should spend our hard-earned money? It's an intriguing thought. Imagine someone with a big salary, yet they're just as worried about their next payday as someone earning much less. This cycle of continuous spending to match societal expectations doesn't discriminate based on what's in your bank account. It's a widespread phenomenon, affecting people from all walks of life, teaching us a valuable lesson about the real cost of trying to fit in. Why? Because their spending is focused on creating an impression of wealth rather than actually accumulating it. Now, if someone buys clothes and accessories simply because they love them and it makes them happy, that's perfectly fine. It's healthy to spend on things that genuinely bring joy. However, the issue arises when spending is driven by a desire to match others' lifestyles or to showcase a certain image on social media. Isn't it better to build real wealth quietly than to appear wealthy and be financially insecure? Finally, and perhaps most crucially, let's address a key obstacle, the challenge of mastering financial literacy. It's a huge deal in life, even though it might not always get the attention it deserves. I mean, isn't it strange how we spend years learning complex subjects but often overlook the basics of managing our own money? In the early 20s, it's easy to brush off financial literacy. Life's full of adventures like dating, traveling, and splurging on cool stuff. Back then, the impact of not knowing much about finances seems pretty minimal, especially when there's not a lot of money in the picture. But here's the kicker. If you don't start learning about money stuff in your 30s or 40s, changing those early habits gets super hard. And trust me, it'll start to matter big time. Knowing simple things like taxes and how to manage what you earn and spend is super crucial to not just having money, but making it work for you. And let's face it, most schools don't teach this stuff, so it's on us to get clued up. If anyone's curious about these topics, just give a shout, and more information can be provided. But remember, by turning a blind eye and not wanting to learn, one might end up in a cycle of just working for money without making it work for them. So, why wait to hit a financial wall before taking control of your financial destiny? Having covered these essential tips has been a real eye-opener. It's clear that these habits could be keeping many in the rat race, from accepting less than your worth in your job overspending on luxuries like cars and homes to relying on a single income source. Isn't it time to reassess and change these habits before they anchor us deeper in financial quicksand? The balance between consumption and production is crucial, and following the crowd in spending can lead to financial instability. Financial literacy is often overlooked, but it's essential for long-term stability. Understanding the basics like taxes, managing expenses, and making your money work for you are key steps to breaking free from the cycle of simply working to earn. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe for more insider tips on making the most of your money. Make sure to check the description for links to additional resources. Remember, it's not just about earning money, it's about making your money work for you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.